Blue Mountain Zendo, Rahatsu Session, 2015. Reverend Jiriki Ryun Baker Osho. Case 17. The national teacher calls out 3 times.
Mumonkan Case 17. The national teacher calls 3 times. The national teacher called to his attendant 3 times, and the attendant answered 3 times. The national teacher said, "I thought I had transgressed against you, but you too have transgressed against me." Mumon's commentary. The national teacher called 3 times, and his tongue dropped to the ground. The attendant answered 3 times, and softening his light, he gave it out. The national teacher, as he got old and was feeling lowly, pushed the cow's head down to the grass and fed her. The attendant would not simply accept it. Even delicious food cannot attract a full stomach. Now tell me, how did they transgress? Mumon's poem. An iron collar with no hole, he has to wear it. It is no easy matter. The trouble passes on to his descendants. If you want to support the gate and sustain the house, you must climb a mountain of swords with bare feet. Please turn and face me. It's an interesting koan, and I always find myself writing these talks and then looking at what I had written, and during session just not being interested anymore. There's many different kinds of calling out, and there's many different kinds of answering. Today, listening to the wind chimes, I heard them call out, and I answered. I also received a phone call about an hour and a half ago saying that my grandmother had died this morning. So that too was a calling out and an answering. The national teacher in this koan is Master Echo of Namyo. His attendant is thought to be Tangen Oshin, Eshu Sol Dharma heir. And he would later go on to run Tangen Monastery after Echu's death. He studied under Master Gunin, the 5th patriarch, and under Enno, the 6th patriarch, who he later succeeded. After Echu's eye was open, he went on to live in a small temple called Kokonji. He was met there by another monk by the name of Seizan. So we can think after his eye was open, or after he had insight, he went off into the mountains to, what I think, hone his insight, to distill it and let it settle to see really what was left. So Kokonji was probably a very small temple, hermitage out in the middle of nowhere with just 2 monks running it. And this sounds very familiar to me. For 40 years, Echu practiced at Kokonji. 40 years. You know, I got to catch myself. Sometimes I say, well, I've been practicing 20 years, and there's some pride or arrogance, and I think of Genja, Osho, and Echu in this, and have been practicing for 40 years. Imagine what's next. And he lived a very secluded life. But his presence was well known in the area, and many people came to see him in this small hermitage. His Dharma brother, Seizan, was not his teacher, but more of a Dharma brother. So they were there kind of mutually running this, but I would think that Etchu's insight may have been a little bit more mature. And since his notoriety grew, the emperor, of course, at this time, was very interested in Etchu and wanted him so desperately to come to the capital city. So much wanted him to come. Heard so many things about him. And Master Etchu was loved by so many people. The story says that so many people just held him in such high regard. So this is the emperor. Come to the capital palace and I'll give you huge Dharma halls and anything that you want, and golden Buddhas, just come. No, thank you. So 40 years pass, and finally something changes in Master Etchu, and he decides to take the emperor up on his offer. Seizan was not happy with this decision at all. And again, this was not Master Etchu's teacher, but just a Dharma brother. And Seizan, don't go. No, if you go, that's it. You're through. We're through if you go. And I could kind of understand this. Two monks running a temple out in the middle of nowhere is probably pretty difficult with two. Now think about one. Probably really difficult. I can just kind of feel his fear, because Etchu was so well loved. And this isn't to say anything that Seizan wasn't, but you can kind of tell he just did not want Master Etchu to leave. So he loved him too. Don't leave me here. Stay. I need you. Stay. So it was probably a pretty difficult decision for Master Etchu to leave somebody he probably loved as well. To do it right, you go into the mountains as the sixth patriarch did, or as Master Etchu did, and you sit and you mature. And when the karma unfolds and the opportunity is warranted, then you begin to teach. Many times it doesn't go that way, and the other way is a little tougher. So Master Etchu knew that it was time. 40 years had passed, and he knew that people desperately needed him, that they wanted him there, that they wanted to hear the Dharma. And he probably felt a great responsibility now. I mean, so many people going out of their way to just visit him in this remote, hermitage, in this remote temple. And the stories are just a lot of people, hundreds of people going to see him. And it just was time. The way just kind of spontaneously unfolded. There was no grasping needed. There was no struggling needed. There was, well, I need a bigger temple. I need more people. It was, this is the unfolding of the Dharma, and this is my path. There's just no question about it. So this was around 759 that he decided to move to the capital city. And it said that when he moved to the capital city that the emperor came out. And you all know what a rickshaw is, right? So the emperor actually came out and grabbed the pole to actually bring him into the city. This is the emperor. I mean, he was loved, and the emperor has heard so many things about him and has wanted so long to hear his dharma. So long. Finally. Because we're all one in the dharma, and even though he was the emperor, he heard that calling out too. And it's beyond title and word. After he left, we hear nothing about Seizan. Nothing. So he could have stayed there, more than likely. I would hope to think that people attended the temple and supported it, the hermitage, after Echu's departure. But we don't know. We don't know anything about after that point in time. Just that I think Seizan was very hurt. So for 16 years, he would remain the teacher of Emperor Shukoso and Emperor Daiso. And in return, he was given the title National Teacher. That's a pretty lofty title, National Teacher. But I doubt that it went to Echu's head at all. 40 years, he said, no, thank you, not yet. It said his students were staggering in the capital city. Staggering. Hundreds and hundreds. I mean, we have 12 here, and this is a very small mountain hermitage. I can't think of having 700-800 students lined up like this to hear you talk, or to even navigate that. 700 students. Loved. Everybody loved him. There's no telling exactly how old Echu was, but they say he probably lived well over 100. His birth date was never documented, but we have an idea that he died in 775. So, okay, so enough with the history lesson. Let's get back to the koan. So the national teacher calls out 3 times, and the attendant answers 3 times. So what does it mean to call out? The chime, the wind, the clinking of the stove, or maybe nothing at all. Would we answer in the way of ocean? Right? Completely and without hesitation. Yes! Or would we say, oh, no, thank you. Work to do. No, thank you. Too busy. Too sick. Knees hurt too bad. No, thank you. I was talking to Genja Osho about the dock at Beecher Lake, and that's where I really started to train. So I have many fond memories of the Daibusatsu. And one of those was traditional during mu practice to go out onto the dock. And some of you have been there. Some of you haven't, so you can just imagine this pristine lake that you can actually see right down to the bottom. And even in the deepest part, that's how pristine, it's the highest altitude lake in all of the Catskills. So, I mean, pristine. Beavers and porcupines, just really the epitome of a mountain temple. And when you studied Mu and you started to cultivate that Nen energy, many times it was just kind of a little whisper. Well, a lot of people go out onto the dock and then they yell Mu with all their might. So it was interesting because doing Zazen, Genja Osho says that people like pop like bubbles. So when you're in Zazen and all of a sudden you hear in this distant echo across the mountain, moo, and you think, was that a dream? Did I really hear moo? Somebody really there, or did I just hear it? Sometimes you can't tell. It's a dream, a wave, right? But that calling out, moo, waiting for that answer. Today, yesterday, I could have been dreaming, somebody yelling for an answer out back. And it reminded me very much of calling out. So let's add a little more background to the story. So the Inji, or the attendant, was his student, Ocean, and he was probably calling down the hall. No, it's all right. It's calling out too. So he's probably yelling down the hall, And I remember in a big monastery, hearing these yells, Angie, and it would just kind of bounce down the hallway and through the monastery, So he was probably down the hall, Ocean, I don't know, maybe just after lunch, and just was, trying to get a little sleep, just a little rest before it all began. But he hears Eshu call out, right? Attendant! If you were Ocean and heard Master Eshu say, attendant, or Inji, how would you reply? Would you? Would you say, oh, no, thank you? I'm so busy with my aching knees. Somebody else will do it. He'll just call again, and then somebody else will do it, right? Just got done with Samu. No, thank you. No, thank you. Exhausted. Or would you say, yes! Without any hesitation or without any reserve, fully, completely, opening your spleen and liver. At Daibusatsu and Choboji and Blue Mountain Zendo, we have a tradition that when somebody asks something, or when somebody asks in a relative way as well as other ways, for us to do something and for our attention, we say, "Hai!" We don't. Sometimes we do. We don't say, "Yeah? What you want? What can I do for you?" Hai! And it's Japanese, but it has nothing to do with it. It means yes, but not yes at the same time, right? It's that answering. You're answering the call. Hai! Not, what do you want? What can I do for you? Yeah? Much, much different. Right? And when you do that, when you say hi, right? Or when you ask somebody to do something and they said hi, then it feels complete, because it is complete. You are both echoing. But if you're thinking, oh, no, thank you, or I don't know, then it's going to be, hey, what you want? Yeah? My first actual time saying I in the true sense of the word, is after session at Daibusatsu, and everybody had left. Lunch was over, and everybody's out, so it's just all the residents that are left. And after session, I said, a few of you have done session with me. I bounce off the wall. I have so much energy. I'm like in one room, in the next room, in the next room. So I'm like kind of going room to room, in the monastery, trying to burn off all this energy. And I hear Ada Roshi call out, Inji, from upstairs on the second floor in the library. And I'm like, And there was no reply. And he called out again, Inji! No reply. And then he said, anyone! And I'm like, that's me! Hi! So I went up and there he was doing shodo on the floor and needed somebody to kneel on the other end of the paper. So when he did a stroke, it didn't move the paper. But that, I remember how complete that felt. And I remember how somber it felt to hear Edo Roshi call out and nobody answer. Imagine Master Etchu calling out and nobody answers. How sad that feels. Or even if we ask somebody to do something and they're not present, they're distracted. It feels incomplete. It doesn't feel right. Without any hesitation, everything in that word. I think having a better memory is more eco-friendly. All of this paper here. So what other ways are we called? Right? That's one way. What other ways are we called? What happens if somebody asks for help? I mean, somebody that really needs help. Needs you. Comes to you. Maybe your wife, your husband, your friend, your Dharma brother or sister, and needs your answer and calls out to you. Maybe not hi, but maybe, saying nothing. Or just sensing that, calling out, right? Is it all about you? Should it be? That call's always present, always. It's just we don't hear it a lot of the time. No, thank you. That's okay. It's okay not to hear it all the time. So Ocean's replies were in perfect accord with his teacher's call. They spoke as one that day, right? Just like if somebody asked you to help them, and you do, you become one. If you're really there, and they're really there. What a beautiful opportunity. This relationships is very important to me. And it's very important in my view to have this deep relationship with a teacher. And the ability to echo and to both hear and call out is very important. To meet someone who really hears what you're saying, whether you do or not, is very important. Sometimes we don't even know what's in our call, but being intimate, as I said, Zen saying about your spleen and your liver, basically being inside out, nothing hidden, fully present, fully there. Right? I think of it many times like single drops of rain in the middle of a still glass pond like Beecher Lake. And that drop hits the middle of the pond and it ripples out. Nothing is it, just everything is it, just ripples out. Calling out is like dropping this little bit of rainwater right in the middle of the pond and then riding that yourself. All just this one ripple, this one wave. And Echu and Ochin are taking turns dropping water into the still glass pond. Watching. So it's important. The history is important, and to remember that Ochin was Master Echu's student and soon to be Dharma heir really puts a weight to this calling out and answering. So it just wasn't a light thing, but there was truly weight there and full intention. So the national teacher said, "I thought I had transgressed against you, but you too have transgressed against me." So in this verse, Master Echu is really bearing witness to the fact that Ochin has not just understood his challenge, but actually revealed himself fully, his essential nature. So didn't just understand, but acted, responded, met him face to face. And Echu called out and thought he was alone in the universe, but he realized Ochin stood right next to him. Wasn't alone at all. The activity of one mind is a very joyous activity. And to be able to do this, I think, is something that's very precious. And that's why I hinted to the importance of a teacher to be able to do this with, to get better at it and better. More flexible, little by little. So I heard of my grandmother's death, and first thing I did is I came down to Osho and I said, "Osho, my grandmother just died," and I'm tearing up. And that was a call. That phone call was a call. One type of call. And then I find myself standing on the porch looking out and then wondering, sad, so sad, calling out, waiting to hear, waiting for an answer. And the wind blew through. And when the wind blew through, the answer was there. No more sadness. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but there, right there. So Master Echu gives praise not only to Ochin, but also to the practice itself. And how wonderful it actually is to meet another person who carries this burden. I mean, somebody who's really 100% in, who really, and with every single pore in their body, is dedicated to this practice. who carries that burden, who's there to answer no matter what. Not, oh, much too busy. Oh, somebody else will do it. But just that free and open reply or calling out. And it gets a little easier, as Genjo Osho says. And I can only imagine in another 20 years, maybe it'll be a teeny bit easier for me. So these experiences are left best as that. Let's put it that way. The wind blows through, answers done, complete. What's the next call? The next call. Waiting, awake, present fully, meeting equally. So really to add anything to it really violates and distorts it, you know. And especially with things like moo. Oh, geez, it took me like years to get over that. Years. But what about moo? But what about moo? It's all moo. What do you mean? Don't take moo from me. Right? But, you know, it can't be adorned, you know. Nothing need be added. You know, complete. If we're fully present and we answer. Complete. Nothing needed. Nothing to affix to. Full. Done. So why do we still need to transgress? I ask you that. If it's done and if it's complete and nothing need be said or added, then why do we need still to transgress? Why do we need to carry such a burden? I'll leave that for you to chew on for a while. So the commentary, the national teacher called 3 times and his tongue dropped to the ground. So this is pretty evident. Master Etchu is kind of being wordy with reason, but it could be seen as being redundant. I guess he could have done it once, but there may be a reason why he did it more than once, and you may want to ponder that. But why should he do such a thing? Why should he do such a thing? Why does Genjo Osho call out? Why does he correct? Why does he do? Why does he carry the burden? Why do we carry the burden? Right? It's all for you. The attendant answered 3 times, and softening his light, he gave it out. So the relationship, as I said before, between the teacher and the student really needs to be true. It really does. I've gone through a few teachers. And it really does need to be true. Just because somebody's a teacher does not mean that they're your teacher. There's a difference. This relationship is very important, right? That connection, that union, that being able to meet, to echo is very important, or at least it's important to practice at it, to get better at it. And this was a case of perfection, of completion, nothing needed, perfect, end. So Ocean softened himself, right? Not, oh, no, thank you. Not, I'm too busy. But, yes, no hesitation. He could have said, oh, what does he want? Just lay down. But he softens himself and he opens up and he offers himself fully. He echoes Master Ocean fully. The national teacher, as he got old and was feeling lonely, pushed the cow's head down to the grass to feed her. So, yeah, some of these things are kind of, Master Etchu is getting up there in age. Now remember, so Master Etchu had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students, right? He has one Dharma heir. Wow. It's just one heir. Out of hundreds and hundreds of people, one heir. Very important. He's getting up there in age. Probably thinking about who's going to take over. And we know that Oshin's answer was complete and would go on to be abbot of Tengen Monastery. So getting old, feeling lonely. Does he care? Is he willing to take the burden? Is he all here? Getting old and tired. So not so trivial in that perspective. Am I alone? And of course, in this verse, Oshin is the cow, not any secret. And the push is not a forceful push, right? Very playful. And this is something that I'm just starting to realize now in a lot of these texts is kind of a non-dualistic compassion and love. So push the cow's head down to the ground, but did so out of loving encouragement. Did so out of, am I alone? Are you here with me? Oshin. And this is just like a mother bird will push her chick out of the nest so that they can fly, so that they can open their wings. Are they ready? It's time. Let's see. The attendant would simply not accept it. Even delicious food cannot attract a full stomach. Oshin's yes swallowed the whole universe. There's nothing left out. No need for anything. Complete. His answer made 2-1. Nothing left out. And I perceive that Oshin probably is aware that Master Etchu is testing him, right? This is Master Etchu's Dharma heir, so I'm sure he was no slouch and had practiced diligently. Had a good relationship with his teacher, loving relationship with his teacher. Nothing that he lacked. So now tell me, how did they transgress and where is the transgression? So now we come to the main point of the koan. So what if Etchu never called out? And what if Oshin never replied? What happens if we're unable to answer or call out? What happens if we just decide to skirt transgression altogether? What happens then? Maybe we decide, why bother? Too much trouble, too much time, too much achy knees. People, they'll get over it. They'll take care of themselves. They don't need anybody, right? Yeah, or I'll leave it for somebody else. I'll just go to session and get a handle on it, and then I just leave it to the monks, or just leave it to them. So if no one transgressed, if no one acted, if there was no one left to call out, who's left to answer? Just like Edo Roshi's very lonely. Enji! No, replied, nobody there. When the nation is at peace, men of talent are respected. When the family is well off, the children maintain their status. So, yeah, and again, not a mystery. Students' training reflects the teacher. It's really talking about Master Etchu's teachings and Ocean's competency, both the calling out and the answer. So their talents are clear, is basically what it's saying. That it's complete. So it says Ocean doesn't even bother to care for Satori. Doesn't even need anything exterior. All complete just in that one word. Yes! Nothing lacking. Right? And both are complete, at peace, their talents clear. Nothing needed. The family, in this case, of course, signifies Etchu Sangha and its Dharma, Ocean. The child cares for nothing trivial, not unsure of his step or calling or replying at all. So Mumon's poem, an iron collar with no hole. He has to wear it. It is no easy matter. The trouble passes on to his descendants. We must ask ourselves, who is he? Pronoun. Who is he who has to wear it? Who is this he? No easy matter. None. Troubles passed on to his descendants. The burdens passed on to those who wear this yokeless yoke. The iron collar, of course, symbolizes a couple things in this. One is, of course, the practice and in my eyes, the transmission of the patriarchs. It's kind of of course, nothing there, so it's a unbearable burden. It's a yokeless yoke. So, and if we kind of approach it in a dualistic way, it's unmanageable. Can't even approach it. It just can't pick it up, can't wear it. It's got no hole, right? Doesn't make sense. So if we approach it in a very dualistic way or in a closed way, it's very unwieldy. Very unwieldy. Just a couple more things, and we'll close, and your knees will appreciate it. So, the iron yoke in this also symbolizes the second thing is, of course, the koan. So without insight into the koan, again, you're not going to be able to manage this yoke. Won't be able to approach it. How do you get it on? It's got no hole. How do you bear it? What is the transgression? What is this burden? All questions to be answered, right? The first time that I ever put a case on, it was unwieldy. Unwieldy, weighed 1,000 pounds. Walking at Daibusatsu, it felt literally like I had a lead apron wrapped around my back, right? And now I have this brand new 1,000-pound yoke that I'm learning to approach in a very open way. If you want to support the gate and sustain the house, you must climb a mountain of swords with bare feet. What is the weight of your koan right now that you're chewing on? What's its weight? Why don't you just spit it out? You could. Go get your stuff and leave. Why do you stay and turn? What is this burden? I remember telling Kubutsu and I have a very strange relationship. I've known Kubutsu for probably 17 years now. And he was one of the first guys that I ever talked to about Zen, actually, interestingly, online. And I remember telling him, I want to be a monk, Kubutsu. And he said, get a hobby. You don't want to do that. No, I really do. Better to get a hobby. And I was like, what the hell is with him? That guy's angry. What are you talking about, you know? Maybe we should have listened a little closer, but no. You know, and it's these koans, these are the gateless gates. You know, it says sustain the house. The house is gateless gates, right? And every one of these bricks in the house of Zen has been placed there by our patriarchs. So, one last question before I close. Etchu calls out to all of you. You're all his descendants. Who among you will bear this iron yoke?